Okay, let me go ahead and offer prayers. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur-unmilitanena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Mano-bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute तप्त कांचना गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी ऋषभानुस्तुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Hare Krishna devotees, please welcome to Bhagavatam class. Today I am reading third canto, chapter 21, verse number 20. Let me recite the verse. नैतद्बतादीशपदं तवेप्सितं यन्माययानस्तनुषे भूतसूक्ष्मम् अनुग्रहाय यस्यापि यर्हि मायया लसत्तुलस्या भगवान् विलक्षितः। नैतद्बतादीशपदं तवेप्सितं यन्माययानस्तनुषे भूतसूक्ष्मम् अनुग्रहायस्त्वपि यर्हि मायया लसत्तुलस्या भगवान् विलक्षितः। One more time. नैतद्बतादीशपदं तवेप्सितं यन्माययानस्तनुषे भूतसूक्ष्मम् अनुग्रहाय यस्त्वपि यर्हि मायया लसत्तुलस्या भगवान् विलक्षितः। Synonyms: na, not; etad, this; bata, indeed; adisha, O Lord; padam, material word; tava, your; ipsitam, desire; yat, which; mayaya, by your external energy; na, for us; tanuse, you manifest; bhuta sukshmam, the element, the elements gross and subtle; anugrahaya, for bestowing mercy; astu, let it be; api, also; erhi, when; mayaya, through your causeless mercy; lasat, splendid; tulasya, with a wreath of tulsi leaves; Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead; vilakshitaha, is perceived. Translation: My dear Lord, although it is not your desire, you manifest this creation of gross and subtle elements just for our sensual satisfaction. Let your causeless mercy be upon us, for you have appeared before in your eternal form, adorned with splendid wreath of tulsi leaves. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. It is clearly stated here that material world is not created by the personal will of the Supreme Lord. It is created. It is created by His external energy. Sorry. Okay, it is created by His external energy because the living entities want to enjoy it. This material world is not created for those who do not want to enjoy sense gratification, who constantly remain in transcendental loving service, and who are eternally Krishna conscious. For them, the spiritual world is eternally existing, and they enjoy there. Elsewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that for those who have taken shelter of lotus feet of Supreme Personality of Godhead, this material world is useless, because this material world is full of danger at every step. It is not meant for devotees, but for living entities who want to lord it over the material world at their own risk. Krishna is so kind that he allows sense enjoying living entities a separate world created by him to enjoy as they like. Yet at the same time, he appears in his personal form. The Lord unwillingly creates this material world, but he descends in his personal form, or sends one of his reliable sons, or a servant, or a reliable author like Vyasadeva to give instruction. He himself also instructs in his speeches of Bhagavad Gita. This propaganda work goes on side by side with a creation to convince the misguided living entities who are rotting in this material world to come back to him and surrender unto him. Therefore, the last instruction of Bhagavad Gita is this: give up all your manufactured engagements in the material world and just surrender unto me. I shall protect you from all sinful reactions. Let me read translation once again. My dear Lord, although it is not your desire, you manifest this creation of gross and subtle elements just for our sensual satisfaction. Let your causeless mercy be upon us, for you have appeared before us in your eternal form, adorned with splendid wreath of tulsi leaves. Okay, so today's verse is very helpful for preachers because one second, I just. Can you see my screen? Okay.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. So today's verse is very helpful for us, especially for preachers, because whenever we try to propagate God consciousness to others, usually people ask so many questions. Like, if you approach to people, if you approach people and talk about God or God consciousness, people react in so many different ways. Like, if God is all powerful, all merciful, why there is so much distress, why there is so much misery everywhere? Especially we came out COVID now. People were suffering, people were dying left and right. They say, why God is not able to do anything? Why people were suffering so much? Why He is not able to take away all the suffering? So on one side, we say that God is all powerful, all misery. On the other side, people are dying, they are under misery. Why God is not helping? This kind of question we ask. I mean, people ask. So I heard the same thing from one of the great author also. I think you would have heard why bad thing happens to good people. I think the author of that book is, I think, Rabbi Kushner, something like that. He is a great missionary. He is a Christian missionary. He had a lot of faith in the Lord, and he was preaching gospel of Lord. He was going everywhere and asking everybody to take up God consciousness, and he was saying God is all merciful, surrender to him, like that. But in his life, when he got married, after that, he got a son. He was infected with a disease called progeria. It is an extremely rare genetic disease that causes rapid aging in the children. So his son, when he was 1 year old, he looked like 7 year old, and when he was like 10 years old, he looked like 70 year old. Um, Finally, when he celebrated his 14th year birthday, he passed away. So actually, he saw so much suffering in his own life, right? And he was begging the Lord every day that, if there is some sins committed by my child, why don't you give it to me? Why don't you punish me? Please rescue the child, like that. He was praying every day, but as you know, it didn't happen. So he concluded that the Lord is actually merciful, but he is powerless. He is like an ordinary person, like you and me. The reasoning behind that is, if I am able to see sorrow in you, I mean, you are going through some sorrow, you are going through some suffering. If I'm not able to help you, then that means, I can only show sympathy, right? I can only sympathize with you, but I cannot help you because I am not powerful. So he thought God is like that. He can definitely show sympathy, but he cannot relieve you from that misery. So that's why he made a comment like, he is definitely all merciful, but he is powerless. So today's verse is like antidote for that. Here, Kardama Muni is saying, Naitad Batadisha Padam Tavepsitam. Padam means material word. Tava Ipsitam means your desire, right? Not tava ipsitam means not your desire. Kardama Muni is saying here that you have created this material world, but it is not your desire. But still, you created this because you have created this for us to satisfy our senses, to enjoy this material world, right? So. Kardama Muni also says, Lord has created this material world unwillingly. So when you say unwillingly, that means there is a force. So somebody is forcing the Lord to create this material world. But in Bhagavatam, in the very first verse, we read, Lord is Abhigna Swarat, right? Fully cognizant, and Swarat means fully independent. If he is fully independent, if he doesn't come under anybody's control, then what is the force? Why he is creating unwillingly? So it is because of love for living entity, because living entities wanted to enjoy on their own, independent of Krishna. That's what Prabhupada also says here, somewhere in the purport. Where is that? Um, okay, this material world is useless because this material world is full of danger at every step. It is not meant for devotees, but for living entities who wants to lord it over the material energy at their own risk. Krishna is so kind that he allows the sense-enjoying living entities a separate world created by him to enjoy as they like. So this is for living entities who wants to enjoy on their own. So they can come here and however, I mean, we living entities have got little bit of free will. Based on that, they can do good karma or bad karma. So they come here to enjoy fruits of their good deeds or suffer reactions of their bad deeds, right? So, and also devotees know about this. That's why, every day morning in Mangalarti, we sing this song, Samsara Dava Nalali Daloka, right? Samsara means this material existence. Dhavanala means it's a forest fire. It's not just a fire, it is a forest fire. The suffering of samsara is compared to the pain produced by intense heat. That is the forest fire, right? Lida means swallowed. Loka means all the souls in this material world. Basically, when you say samsara dava analili, the loka means this material existence. Like this is a forest fire. It is swallowed all the souls in this material world. But um, one thing devotee knows that if we are in constant touch with Supreme Personality of Godhead, it doesn't affect, this material energy doesn't affect us. So actually in Bhagavad Gita, 14th chapter, it is said, Mamchayo avyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatitaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. So, if you are in devotional service all the time, avyabhicharena means without fail. If you are following, if you are executing bhakti yoga all the time, then that person, that devotee will transcend all the gunas. Saguna samati taita. So once a living entity transcends the gunas, he situates himself in Brahma Bhuyaya state. Right? Brahma Bhuyaya means he is above all the material modes. That means he is always in happiness state. Right? But um, so if you are, in this material world, not the living entities are not like in Brahma Bhuyaya state, right? They are always under distress. So Prabhupada somewhere he says, what is distress? He uses this verse, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na sochati na kankshati. So Brahma Bhuta means one who has transcended this material, this three modes of material nature. They are actually a prasannatma. They don't lament or don't desire anything. But this material world is not made of, like this. So in this material world, either there is lamentation or some kind of hankering. The the common factor between these two, lamentation and hankering, there is a distress, right? Um, for example, say if poor man wants to become rich, that thought itself has distress because he has to put in a lot of effort. He has to work day and night to become rich, right? So fortunately, suppose say he becomes rich, but do you think distress has gone away? No, he will be in more distress because now he has a fear of losing it and he has to maintain it, right? So he is still under distress. So that's why this material world is called Dukkhalayam and Ashashvatam, right? But in this world, if living entity wants to enjoy independently, so Krishna has facilitated that. So that's what in the second line, Kardama Muni says, Yan Maya Tanuse Bhuta Sukshma. So he has created this material world, which is external energy. Basically, he has three energies, right? Internal energy, external energy, and marginal energy. So living entity who wants to enjoy on there, they come here. They come under his external energy. That's what in Bhagavad Gita, 7th chapter, it says, Apareyam mitastwanyam prakritim vidyame param jiva bhuta mahabhavo yedam dharyate jagat. There is this material world is apara prakriti. It is inferior energy. Other than this, there is also a superior energy. Prakritim vidyame param. There is a superior energy. What is that? That is Jiva Bhuta, that is living entity, right? So living entity is actually Edam Dharyate Jagat. These living entities, they exploit, Dharyate means exploit this material world. So all the living entities who wants to enjoy on their own, who wants to lord it over the material world, they will come here. But the great soul don't come here. It said Mahatmanastu Mam Partha Daivim Prakriti Mashitaha. Daivim Prakriti Mashita means they are under the protection of his internal energy. They don't come here, right? Um, that's what Prabhupada here he says. This material world is not created for those who do not want to enjoy the sense gratification, who constantly remain in the transcendental loving service and who are eternally Krishna conscious. For them, the spiritual world is eternally existing and they enjoy there. Elsewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that for those who have taken shelter of the lotus feet of Supreme Personality of Godhead, this material world is useless because this material world is full of danger. It is not meant for devotees, for living entities. It is not meant for devotees, but for living entities who want to lord it over the material energy at their own risk, right? But But when living entity wants to come here in the material world, uh, it cannot directly enjoy. It needs a body to enjoy this material world, right? That's why God created Tanuse Bhuta Sukshmam. He created subtle and gross body, right? With the using Pancha Bhuta, he created five working senses, five knowledge acquiring senses. And once we have all the senses, we need objects to enjoy. So he created five sense objects. And to navigate all these things, we need intelligence. So he created three subtle elements: mind, intelligence, and ego. And he created so much. So out of compassion, he created all these things for living entities to enjoy in this material world. So once he created, after creating this, he said, who are whatever, living entities who wants to enjoy this material world, they can come here and enjoy. But after enjoying so many years, so many lifetimes, some living entity might get exhausted and say that, I want to go back to Godhead. That time, actually, Krishna also provided a facility. That's why Anugrahaya Swapi Yarhimaya. Maya means, out of his causeless mercy, he bestows mercy. How he bestows mercy, that's also Prabhupada explains in the purport. Lord unwillingly creates this material world, but he descends in his personal form or sends one of his reliable sons or servant or reliable author like Vyasadeva to give instruction. He himself also instructs in his speeches of Bhagavad Gita, right? So whoever wants to go back to God, back to Godhead, he has provided this facility. He sends reliable sons. He sends acharyas. He sends author like Vyasadeva. Using all these things, we can take help of all these things, and we can go back to Godhead. Sometimes he himself comes and he provides Apaurushaya knowledge. But how he will know that living entity is eager to go back to Godhead? So Bhagavad Gita also says, Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Riddeshe Arjuna Tishtati. He sits in the heart of all the living entities. He understands the desires of living entity. Once he knows that this living entity is fed up of this material world, he wants to go back, then he bestows his mercy. And so today, actually, we are talking about the suffering in this material world, right? But it is said that it is very important knowledge. One should discuss this, one should understand this. In Bhagavad Gita, 13th chapter, it says, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi Dukkha Doshanu Darshanam. Actually, this Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi, it actually is suffering. We need to understand this. So let me read the translation of this verse. This is really nice. Actually, Krishna has given 20 items of knowledge. He said these are the knowledge, rest of them are all ignorance. Like humility, pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance, simplicity, approaching a bona fide spiritual master, cleanliness, steadiness, self-control, renunciation of the objects of sense gratification, absence of false ego, the perception of the evil of birth, death, old age, and disease, detachment, freedom from the entanglement with children, wife, home, and the rest, even-mindedness amid pleasant and unpleasant events, constant constant and unalloyed devotion to me, aspiring to live in a solitary place, detachment from the general mass of people, accepting the importance of self-realization and philosophical search for the absolute truth. All this I declare to be knowledge. And besides this, whatever there may be is ignorance. So today we were discussing about the suffering. So here this knowledge is the perception of the evil of birth, death, old age, and disease and detachment. So we should know that this actually creates suffering in our life. So this material world is full of misery. And if you take shelter of Krishna, we can definitely aspire to go back to God and Godhead. That's all I had for today. If you had any questions or corrections, please go ahead and provide those.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, very, very nice class. And I was thinking very authoritative too. You had quoted so many verses. And, just a personal sharing, this point about perception of, birth and death and the miseries that go with it is, I had an experience with it. So, around in 2005, when my father passed away, I was somehow blessed to have, like a Bhagavad Gita just before that. And so it gave me a lot of solace. But at that point in time, that very same year, a friend of mine also lost her father. But her life was not touched by somehow this, this knowledge. And so for her, like you quoted from that book, right? She concluded that there was no God.
Yes.
That was, because that is often the common conclusion, right? Like that either he is merciless, or in your case, you said, he's powerless. Yeah, you quoted the book, or there is no God at all. Because if there was God, then surely he cannot take all this suffering. Surely, he'll not put me through this. So it's a very common thing. And I don't know, I got a deeper insight from that experience based on your class today. So thank you so much. One other additional comment was that, I have heard from Radhika Raman Prabhu in many classes too. He calls it, the two things. He says, how Sri Vaishnavas say that God has to have two attributes. He should be, one, he should be compassionate and kind, but also two, he has to be supremely powerful. Like, why would you approach somebody that is just like you and me? Why he by definition he should be all powerful. So I was remembering that point too. But thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah, I was really shocked, the great author like that, he made comment like that, right? And also, personally, I've seen one of my friend who's earlier she was, very devotional and she was worshipping. I mean, she is not in ISKCON, but she was doing all those things. But as soon as her father passed away in his young age, she stopped everything. She stopped believing in God. She totally turned to atheist. So it is so disheartening to see like that, right? Thank you, Mataji, for sharing your things.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Maharaj Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Thank you for the wonderful class. It is very, you have expanded on each and every word in the purport so elaborately. I was remembering this analogy in some lectures, that the mother seeing the child create disturbance for her when she is working in the kitchen. She gives the child some playthings and put him outside in a play area. So similarly, the Lord has, the whole caring father and mother. He has put us out here in this material world with some, but imagine the extent of facilities and the extent of, how everything, Sutra Manigana Iva, that is, he is in the middle of everything, but he is still, in the kitchen. He is busy with his own. So he knows each and every nook of this creation, directly or indirectly, and he is conscious, and he is here with us in the Paramatma form. Yet he is away from all this. This is and the beauty of this material world itself is so enchanting. So we can only imagine what it is we there in the spiritual world, in the secure spiritual world. Thank you so much. It's a very awakening class. Thank you so much.
He just created this material world just for us, right? So that I can. You gave a very good example, giving a play set for kids, right? Like then we don't give our kitchens to kid, right? And if my daughter wants to cook, when she was young, we actually got a play set for her, right? She can cook and she can say that I cooked this, I cooked pizza, and she used to come and give it to us, right? You can only see and enjoy. You cannot eat that. It's like that material world. We can come here and see everything, but we cannot enjoy here, right? It's like if you cook something in your playhouse, it cannot satisfy us, right? We again go back to mother's.
Yes.
Yeah.
Question.
Prabhu, I was thinking we can take that analogy further. When the child becomes more mature, then the child will realize that this play set is not real, that then they might want to really have real knives to help, or real cutting board, real fruits to help with the mother. And so that is almost like this point about, from Bhagavad Gita, you said, right? Like items of knowledge. The perception it happens along with that. So I thought, beautiful analogy, Mataji. Thank you.
Yeah, that's
Hare
true.
Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anything else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, wonderful class, Prabhuji. The way you conveyed, it was really heart-touching. Recently, somebody shared a video, and I was struggling how to, counteract it. The video was more about, this is the heaven. Why do we all strive to go to a heaven that we have not seen, and stuff like that? But you very clearly established in these verses that this is actually some sort of a penitentiary, and the real world is actually up there. That is where we have to go. Unless we realize that, we will continue to suffer in this samsara. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for your comments.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much for the wonderful class. I agree with every devotee's comments. It was very authoritative. You quoted a lot of verses, and how you brought in this why bad things happen to good people. I think that's like the most common statement that we see everywhere in the world. And have you said, right, some people, when something bad happens, they just turn completely towards atheistic versus taking the shelter of the Lord. So it was very wonderful class. Thank you so much for the wonderful class, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Actually, that brings back the atheistic part. If it's okay, I'll take a minute.
Sure.
About 10 to 12 years ago, there was this friend of mine who was a great devotee of one of the gurus from India. Most of these people, they keep following without realizing what sort of a person the guru that they are following is. In this case, the guru was not really a sannyasi, but he was a tantri. And then in some news channels, things were exposed, and all his disciples were disillusioned. And my friend, who was also a colleague, was in the same thing. He gave up, completely his devotional practices and other things, and he became an atheist. So if you're not careful, even whom we are following, or not understanding who that person is, we can fall into these sort of traps. So just wanted to bring that up.
Very true, Prabhu. That's why Prabhupada says we should always get the knowledge in disciplic succession, right? That makes sense, actually. There is nothing else we can conclude here. पंचकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। ग्रंथराज भागवतम की जय। हरे कृष्ण डिवोटीज।